All right, we're going live. We're going live. I'm live. Welcome back, everybody, to another splendid episode of the best darn show on the internet, the Sharon Show. I do apologize for the tardiness because it is directly my fault, but it's 3, 2, 1 here, so maybe that was meant to be. But
Ah,
yeah, what's going on, everybody? We have a great episode for you today, and we have a really thought-provoking quote, if I must say. What do you think? And I'll
indeed
pull it
you
up.
do.
Yeah. I'll pull it up and then we will have some discussions. Here we go. Okay, so awareness is the greatest alchemy there is. Just go on becoming more and more aware. Just go on becoming more and more aware. There should be a period there, everybody. You will
Mhm.
find your life changing for the better in every possible dimension. It will bring great fulfillment. And this is Rajneesh, also known as Osho, kind of a controversial figure sometimes you would say it, but
Yeah.
yeah, like we do on the show all the time, we try to separate the person from their words. So because
And we could look at that quote and, from both sides, from,
and
knowing who he is and all that stuff, and take it with a grain of salt, if you will.
you're exactly right. And if you can get the true discernment that you need, you could separate the truth, right? That's in people's words. And if you can go even further, because I was thinking about this earlier and I texted it to Sharon, I think it's like, or maybe it was in Telegram. I'm like, every great movement or every great idea turns into a cult eventually, it just turns into a cult. So if that is true, excuse me, that they had good ideas, at least in the beginning, or they're hiding behind good ideas. So, some of the stuff that they're saying is probably great, it's gold. So it's just up to you to discern it and then not worship the person who's saying it. Right.
Yeah. And to kind of reiterate things we've said before, um, there are people out there who, will be these gurus, these lecturers and teachers and whatnot, right? And in the end, they seem to fall from grace, so to speak. And, that just goes to show you that they're just another being, just like you, another man or woman. And they are, how shall you say, easily tempted by the things of this
Yeah.
material world, right?
Yeah,
They
right,
are
exactly.
able to be swayed by those things if they have not worked out their stuff. And like you could say, like Christians say, they haven't worked out their salvation. um, it's just the part of being a human, part of being in this 3D materiality. So um these people will sometimes uh do, things that you would be like, oh my God, how dare they? And again, take what they say with a grain of salt and take what is true or what sounds, um, I guess, what resonates with you and leave the rest.
Yeah, some great advice, 100%. And because I think this ascension or whatever we call it, as you raise your consciousness or as you work on yourself, that's what's going to happen. You're going to get these powers. We've talked about this before, but you're going to realize you have a different sight than other people. You're going to see, like that Matthew 13, blessed for you, you've seen the things that other haven't seen and all that stuff. You're going to see that stuff. And at first it's going to be like, you're going to start pointing the finger. You're going to be like, oh, you guys believe, you believe in Kennedy's was really shot by or whatever, you're going to believe this and you're pointing the finger. Uh, and whatever happens, the more consciousness you raise, you're going to start to realize you're like, oh, those people are just projecting. That's what it is. They're causing all their own problems. And really, though, I think the true way to keep going up or just keep doing the self-healing and realize that that behavior that they're displaying is actually perfect. It's supposed to be what's going on. It is what's going on, right? It's what is reality. And it's just you're not accepting it, so you're suffering and you're judging it because you don't accept it. And the minute you could accept it as being perfect and okay and just realize it's your perception of it that's incorrect. And then you don't have to be the victim, and you can kind of let it go from there. And I think that's the way to not get stuck. And you could see this illustrated a lot in TV or movies and stuff like this because think about like Star Wars, where Luke Skywalker has different points where he gets to a good spot and he's like the ultimate man, like they blew up the Death Star or whatever. Spoiler alert, in the first one, they blew up the Death Star. And and then, in Empire, there's all this stuff he has to, in the next movie, Empire Strikes Back, there's all these things he has to overcome. And it's the same thing. You see these heroes in these stories rise and fall, rise and fall, rise and fall. And then finally, there could be some final battle at the end of whatever story it is where they really overcome everything. And you see it a lot in Wheel of Time, you see it really well with the main character. There's so many books, but like toward the later books, he has to like learn how to even laugh again and get his sense of humor back and all this stuff to have hope and whatever. Not exactly hope, but just to see that he's not a victim, right? And that's really all this is. That's what we try to dissect or not dissect. We try to distill this stuff down to the simple whatever it is, and it really is, do you feel like a victim or not? It's funny, I have a story. Elizabeth had a headache. That's not funny. But she was just saying, "Oh, I feel like such a victim." I'm like, well, technically, you are a victim because you have all this pain. So, it's okay if you don't. But then you can, then she was saying how she was looking and what the pain can tell you, like stuff we talk about, like what's the pain trying to tell you and stuff like that. But
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting though. I'm like, no, because if something happens, you really can be a victim. Like, Uh, so yeah, anyway, it's funny.
So
That's my
did
little
you
spiel.
want to talk about the quote in like in
Yes.
general,
I
specific?
do want to talk about that, and thank you for saying that. I'll pop it back up really quick, and let's see. All right. So this is kind of what we're talking about when you want to raise your awareness or you raise your consciousness, right? What does that really mean? Well, one of the things you could do, and maybe this is all, but you could just point to it as one of them, is just to try to become more aware of what's going on around you. And really, all that means is to get out of your head, right? Try to be in the present moment because when you're worried about the past or the future, you're stuck in either of these conditions. You're not fully focused on the present moment. And I feel like most of our suffering happens in the past or the future. We're suffering because of what happened in the past, or we're afraid of what's going to happen in the future. And that's when we suffer. And that's really is the key, and I think that's kind of what he's saying with this whole thing here is try to become more aware. Some people do it with meditation. That's a great way. But there's several ways to do it. You could tie a ribbon on your finger to try to remember, like when you're out, oh, yeah, I got to be in the present moment. And then, whatever you want to do, and just bring it back. And then it becomes like you're exercising a muscle. And then as you get lost in thought, you can remember, I'm just lost in thought. You feel that anxious feeling and you're like, you know what? Everything's great here. Look, it's sunny out, we're having a good time. Why should I be worried?
What is that thing that you say that is your greatest uh what is that thing you say? Like, is it awareness is like
Your
currency
greatest
or what's
currency,
currency?
attention.
Attention and awareness are alike,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So it's the same thing, right? Your awareness is is wherever your place, where, take two and action. Wherever you place your attention, no, I'm sorry, wherever you place your awareness, that's where your attention goes. Yeah, so it's the same exactly.
Yeah,
All
I would
right.
say attention and awareness are very similar.
Yeah, it's like
Um,
sight and looking, it's like two different words like I can see and I'm looking at. It's like very
and so when he suggests that it's the greatest alchemy, um, it then he's basically alluding to it being like the best way to change your situation, your lead into gold, change um your what word am I looking for?
point of view.
Um, yeah, but like, I guess your story, your personal legend, you know?
Yeah, there you go. Personal legend. That's a great way to. Yeah, what are you telling yourself? And that really is, it's funny. It's so simple. It's just like this little, our biggest adversary ever is this little voice in our head that tells us we're not good enough or whatever it is, or that tells us, this person shouldn't cut you in line. Because they did, you can now, you could just go full outrage and it's
You're
fine.
entitled to
Yeah.
XYZ.
It's like a child, like a petulant child lives inside you. But then you also have your inner child too, because there really is nothing wrong with that voice. I know we talk about battling the voice and all stuff, but it's just trying to keep you safe because of what's happened in your past. All these things that you probably try to repress and forget about, it remembers. And it's like, we got to keep little Brandon safe. But once I realized that's what it is, I could just kind of thank it, like, thank you, voice, but I'll be just fine. And
Hmm.
like I was saying about the inner child, there's this part of you, and maybe it's just who we really are that is like a child. And like Sharon loves to bring up, and we always talk about on the show, Christ says, you'll be like a child to enter the kingdom of heaven, right? So, but I don't think he means a bratty, whiny child, right? No.
No, I don't think
Um,
so.
but when I start to treat that voice kind of like or think of it as a bratty, whiny child, or myself being that way, I can then laugh about it and kind of let it go easier. And everyone, you can find your own method, but it just seems to be a good one. And that's usually what we're talking about here. So, and that's why I feel like true alchemy really is to change your perception of all you see around you. Change your perception of the world being a disaster dumpster fire to it's freaking perfect.
Yeah. I mean, I've been attempting to do that, and it's not always easy. But I have pulled a card. Shall
Yes.
I show it?
Yes.
All right. Well, I pulled a card from the Aquarian Tarot, a newer deck that I gotten, and I also pulled the Rider Waite version of it so you can see them both. But I
Oh,
pulled the
nice.
Justice.
All right, I'm gonna pin you and then not saying. Actually, I might be able to talk now.
Yeah, just talk.
I think it didn't last time it didn't switch it when you were pinned.
Oh, really?
Those are great cards, and I love how that deck that sometimes they don't show the faces.
It's switching over to you, but that's fine. Just you don't have to pin me. People can see
All
them.
right.
They're fine. They're blurry anyway. Are you frozen? Is it me or is it you?
It could be me.
It's you.
It was me. I don't know. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry, I have my laptop on right here. Maybe it's eating up Wi-Fi. I just turned it off on the Wi-Fi. But I do have, if it gets bad, um, I could switch it over to my laptop and jump in the meeting and run it from there if I have to. I was thinking about that. I don't know. But anyway, I think it's good now. Probably because it was here trying to eat up all kinds of Wi-Fi. Anywho, I love those cards. Justice, what a great card. Card 11. And that one, the way the face is, it looks blank, but I forgot there's a little face drawn in there, right?
Yeah,
I
it
don't
is.
think
It's just so light. I tell you, this deck is not super bright. It's it's very muted.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't want any. Yeah, you can see a little bit, some eyes.
Sure. It reminds me of the evil queen in Snow White, was it? The
Mm,
character or whatever?
yes, it
Yeah.
does. It does. With the thing she's wearing over her head. Is it like very medieval, like this deck? It's very Art Deco, supposedly.
Yeah. It does seem to lean on that medieval stuff especially for the characters that are court cards and stuff.
I
Um,
mean, isn't the Rider Waite's kind of medieval too?
yeah.
So it's similar enough.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff that comes out of that. And then I love the Rider Waite there with the two towers, or the
And for
pillars, I
her,
guess.
it's like lilies or something. They're like on her, they're like
Oh yeah.
not towers, but like a bunch of lilies, bunches of lilies.
That's really cool too because that
And she's a female and he's a man. Isn't that interesting?
yeah, that is interesting. Well, that's the thing too about that card, the Justice card in the Rider Waite. It looks like it could be a man, but it could also be a female because you see the long hair there, but I think they are hinting at like
Oh,
androgyny. They hint at that a lot in
okay.
Rider Waite, you know, so. But you're right, it does look like a man, and it is kind of seen, I think, as a man typically by most people. So that
How
is
dare
interesting.
they?
How
Just kidding.
dare you? You're trying to say that a woman can't be a justice card?
I know.
Great card though for this, because I feel like this whole story really is kind of about justice in a way. Because the realm, you know, doesn't care what color you are or nationality or whatever, race
Yeah.
or sex or any of that stuff. It just is it reflects back at you what you give it and what, based on your trajectory and all that stuff. So there is a true justice in that. Like people used to say if somebody had died untimely, they would be like, "Why did God take my,
Yeah.
whoever, my
They were
brother
too
or whatever?"
young to die.
Yes, and I feel like it there really is people say there's no justice in it, but in a way everything evens out. So there is kind of a balance. That's why they show the scales balancing. It's just the forces of the realm, people call it gravity or whatever, that balance it. There's also spiritual forces that come in. If we are energy, then we are governed by a certain set of energy spiritual rules, could it be? So no, it's a good oh,
Yeah.
that's what I was saying.
We
It
have the
ties into
Kybalion.
alchemy. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say the Kybalion too talks about the, cause and effects and all of that. But go ahead.
Yeah, and I was going to say it ties into the story really well because you do see as it goes on, the character there's several things that happen to him that would seem like they could be bad fortune maybe or like different things, and it all seems to be for a reason. Could it be? I don't want to spoil anything, but I still haven't listened or read the entire end, so I don't know exactly. I'm still waiting. I left it till there was a little bit left, and I didn't want to finish it until I got
Oh.
further reading it. So yeah, I don't want to know what happens yet.
Yeah, it's nice to go back and read because sometimes I would listen and then sometimes I would go and I'd actually read what I had already listened to and I got so much more out of it by reading through it. And some of it I had to like pause. I had to read and pause and really contemplate and think about what that what that meant.
Yeah, I've rewound it several times,
Hmm, I did
parts
too.
to really get it. But yeah, I should definitely try to go through and read it too. That'd be good. Well, we are reading it now, but you know what I mean on my own. On my own. All right. So, speaking of that, should we get into that? Let's see if there's anything going on in the chat really quickly. What's up,
Just
everybody?
John.
Just John. Blue was there earlier. What's up, Blue? If you're still around, thank you. Sorry about the late start. What an omen. Yes. Great omens. Yes. We'll learn about that coming up now. Omens. I think it's the same thing. It's just like a synonym for synchronicity, kind of the way they use it, but
Mhm.
it's very old school, you know? Like everybody when I was growing up was scared of that movie, The Omen. So I'm like, yeah, they're omens because they're not bad. It's just
Yeah,
you know.
that's and then there's that show called Good Omens. See?
Exactly.
Well, it was a book first.
You never know how your omen's gonna be.
The other day when Cody and I drove around and we were at this lake and we were at this parking lot and there was a Jeep that was running and the doors were, everything was open and stuff. I heard music in there and I just glanced inside and I saw the book Good Omens sitting on the seat. And then the guy was like coming back to his car and I was like, "Oh, you're going to read Good or you're reading Good Omens?" He's like, "I haven't started it yet." I'm like, "Yeah, I like it. It's a good book."
Nice.
And it's a good show too.
That's a
So,
good omen,
right.
right?
Thank
I
you.
mean, it's
Yeah.
so crazy how many little omens have been happening around me, like the synchronicity thing. It's yeah,
And the
that's
other book he had in there was a Dune book. I didn't see the actual name because I passed by twice. The first time I only caught sight of the Good Omens one. That caught my eye. And then when I walked past it again, we got in the car. The other book was the Dune book, but I didn't see which one.
this guy gets it. That's cool. Wow, that is a good. That's a crazy omen. It's two shows that we talk about a lot, or works of
Yeah,
art, books that we talk about on the show. Yeah,
yeah.
interesting. Yeah, um, I like Good Omens' use of Crowley as a character because I think they kind of embody what he was about. Speaking of movies, do you remember the movie Richie Rich?
No, I
We,
mean, it kind of sounds familiar, but not really.
Macaulay Culkin was in it. Macaulay Culkin. We were kind of watching it the other day, and it's so full of overtones.
Oh
It's
my
like if you're a conspiracy theorist, you could break that movie down and be like,
God.
"Yes."
Look.
Like they have kids in cages at one point. It's so
Oh
crazy.
my God.
Like the bad guy has kids in cages, and then they say something. I forget what happens. Oh, there's like they make their faces like Mount Rushmore, because they're so rich, and they have this laser shooter Carver to do it. And at the end, the bad guy's chasing him, so he's trying to shoot him, and he shoots the mom's nose off of the big statue or whatever. And the mom sees it, and she's like, "My nose, I look like Michael Jackson now." And Macaulay Culkin was like, "Shut up, mom." And you know how there was like all that stuff between. I'm like, are we?
Are we really watching
This
this right
isn't,
now?
that's how I know this is like this is a spiritual realm and not a physical earth. Just the craziness that happens. Like, all right.
Speaking
Anyway.
of kind of alternate realities, I saw something the other day. I think it was on Instagram. Of course, I don't really know what to think about it, but I think I
Yeah.
sent it to you. I don't know if you got a chance to see it, but it was something about like after a certain year, I don't even remember what year it was, maybe 2020. After 2020, something happened and now we're living like in a different reality, like we're in in this like kind of like the Matrix, where because of the 5G and all this stuff, all the antennas and all this stuff, they were able to program us to like live inside of this like fake realm or something that's all in like it's all like in some fake universe or something. I
Yeah,
was
I know what
like,
you're talking about.
okay.
I've heard something like that before. Yeah. Maybe the same thing actually.
Um, so it was the guy that does the cars named after a famous electric electrician
Yeah, I
guy.
get it. Like people go
And
fishing for muskies, it's like a
yeah,
pike.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. He was telling the other guy who hosts podcasts who
Roe
pretends to
Jogan?
yeah.
What
I
was
was
he
like,
telling them? Oh, about that. He was
yeah, he
telling them
was telling
about
him
that.
about that.
Well, in a way though, he is right because the musky guy, did create a reality tunnel, egregore, if you will, that a lot of people are like stuck in. And it's a true, um, it's a true scale. Like you got the negative polarity, whatever. It's very polarizing because he's a very polarizing figure. You have people that used to love him that now hate him, apparently, and people that weren't fans of him that are like love him, and it's just like switching back and forth. So I just try to stay away from, just like you, Sharon. We're like,
It's like, okay,
because
dude,
I think he
whatever.
did create a reality tunnel, and they have a lot of people in it. Good for them.
Yeah. Yeah, good for them. Have fun.
And side note, we were watching They Live. I
Oh
was watching,
yes, I've seen that once.
and Elizabeth had never seen it, and there's a part where toward the end they have all like these rich people in a room that's like in the basement or whatever, but they're having a big dinner and they're like congratulating all the rich people. And the guy's giving a speech and he's like, by the year 2025, we'll have complete domination. And I was like, what?
We're here.
Speaking of omens, yeah. So
Crazy.
yeah, the movie's like a what I think it was Mark Passio or somebody said it's like a documentary. He's like, that's a documentary. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, get your
John Chase
sunglasses,
says,
everybody.
love they live.
Yeah, They Live's great, but see, we're here to talk to you about after you watch They Live. Do you freak out and tell everybody that, JFK wasn't really killed by Lee
Tell
Harvey
everybody that they
Oswald?
live.
Yeah, you tell everyone that They Live at Thanksgiving, or do you just realize you can get your over Sharon sunglasses and see that maybe even though it looks crazy in the physical, it's perfect on the spiritual level, and there's really nothing to do but work on yourself, right?
Yes,
All right, so
absolutely.
you want to get into this
Yeah,
read?
let's do it.
All right, how's your voice this week, by the way?
It should be fine. It's much better.
Oh, cool. Oh, you know what? Let me see something here.
Yeah, last week it was just, I don't know, it was off.
Hmm. All right, yeah, mine's like on and off, but I should be good though. A lot of weather's changing around here. It's like 60, we want 60s one day and like 30s the next day. All right, so we left off page 25, and I could scroll up a little just to give some
And yeah, let's
context.
just see what was yes, let's just kind of recap.
Yeah, we left off at the world's greatest lie. All
Yeah.
right, so
So the boy had been talking to the old man. He was kind of finding the old man a little bit annoying, but then the old man was like talking about this book as if he knew it, and the little boy was surprised. I say little boy, he was probably a teenager. So he was surprised that this man knew so much. So then this old man tells him about the world's greatest lie. And I'll read that part again.
yes.
The boy had asked, "What's the world's greatest lie?" Right? It's this: that at a certain point in our lives, we lose control of what's happening to us, and our lives become controlled by fate. That's the world's greatest lie. So it's a lie that your world is controlled by fate because you are the master. You choose what happens to you in your life. And that is why you can go on your own personal journey and find your personal legend, which is what this book is all about.
And I will further go say that some people can't do that. Some people are ruled by fate, and it is because they are choosing to follow a different like reality tunnel, like I was saying, right? So if you're in one of these other reality tunnels and you're creating for somebody else and you don't realize it, it is going to seem like your world is controlled by fate. And if somebody tries to explain that to you, you're going to think they're crazy. But it's fine because from your point of view, it is. So, that's just a word of caution for everyone. Remember, don't try to wake anyone up that's having a
Yeah.
nice dream.
You see what you see with your eyes, other people see what they see
Yeah.
with their eyes.
Yep. All right. And I see a moon made of cheese in my eyes. All
Mhm.
right.
So, do you mind if I continue?
Yeah, please do.
All right. So, the boy is going to speak now. That's never happened to me, the boy said. They wanted me to be a priest, but I decided to become a shepherd. Much better, said the old man, because you really like to travel. He knew what I was thinking, the boy said to himself. The old man, meanwhile, was leafing through the book without seeming to want to return it at all. The boy noticed that the man's clothing was strange. He looked like an Arab, which was not unusual in those parts. Africa was only a few hours from Tarifa. One had only to cross the narrow straits by boat. Arabs often appeared in the city, shopping and chanting their strange prayers several times a day. Where are you from? The boy asked. From many places. No one can be from many places, the boy said. I'm a shepherd, and I have been to many places, but I come from only one place, from a city near an ancient castle. That's where I was born. Well, then, we could say that I was born in Salem. The boy didn't know where Salem was, but he didn't want to ask, fearing that he would appear ignorant. He looked at the people in the plaza for a while. They were coming and going, and all of them seemed to be very busy. So, what is Salem like? He asked, trying to get some sort of clue. It's like it always has been. No clue yet, but he knew that Salem wasn't in Andalusia. If it were, he would have already heard of it. And what do you do in Salem? He insisted. What do I do in Salem? The old man laughed. Well, I'm the king of Salem. People say strange things, the boy thought. Sometimes it's better to be with the sheep who don't say a thing. Oh, who don't say anything. And better still to be alone with one's books. They tell their incredible stories at the time when you want to hear them. But when you're talking to people, they say some things that are so strange that you don't know how to continue the conversation. My name is Melchizedek, said the old man. How many sheep do you have? Enough, said the boy. He could see that the old man wanted to know more about his life. Well, then, we've got a problem. I can't help you if you feel you've got enough sheep. The boy was getting irritated. He wasn't asking for help. It was the old man who had asked for a drink of his wine, and he had started the conversation. Give me my book, the boy said. I have to go and gather my sheep and get going. Give me 1/10 of your sheep, said the old man, and I'll tell you how to find the hidden treasure. The boy remembered his dream, and suddenly everything was clear to him. The old woman hadn't charged him anything, but the old man, maybe he was her husband. He was going to find a way to get much more money in exchange for information about something that didn't even exist. The old man was probably a gypsy, too. But before the boy could say anything, the old man leaned over, picked up a stick, and began to write in the sand of the plaza. Something bright reflected from his chest, with such intensity that the boy was momentarily blinded. With a movement that was too quick for someone his age, the man covered whatever it was with his cape. When his vision returned to normal, the boy was able to read what the old man had written in the sand. There in the sand of the plaza of that small city, the boy read the names of his father and his mother and the name of the seminary he had attended. He read the name of the merchant's daughter, which he hadn't even known, and he read things he had never told anyone. Any comments?
I said I was muted, but I was like, bomb, bomb, bomb. Yeah. Well, I like the fact that he's talking about like being a hermit, being a shepherd and how it's great and he doesn't have to deal with people because I feel like along the journey that happens and you don't want to deal with anybody, you just kind of want to stay. And also the idea of this guy coming in and knowing all this stuff about him. This reminds me of a lot of stories you hear when somebody meets a master. It's kind of like they have this city or this power.
Jesus was like that. Remember
Yeah.
the woman at the well was like, he told me things that no one would ever have known about me.
Yeah. So he's out there performing miracles. And when he does it, he gets people that are right on the edge. It's like to crack the nut, to a higher understanding or whatever of what this realm could be. Because so many people are locked in this physical idea of what this realm is. And they already know, you can't tell them, they know that we're in a physical, having a physical existence. I'll just say it like that. They know. So, some people though think they know, but then they're like, I don't know. And then someone sits next to them on a park bench and writes down all this information about their life, and then they're just like, whoa, right? And I feel like it's like Arjuna and Krishna when Krishna came to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, or Krishna chose to have Arjuna as his charioteer instead of having his armies. He chose to have him just as an advisor. And Krishna said something to him like, you're ready for the teaching. He's like, you already, you've done all this stuff you're supposed to do. You're asking the right questions, so you're ready to receive this teaching. And I feel like that's what happens when you're ready. And it says that in the Kabbalion too, I think, right? When the student is ready, the master appears.
I don't know where that's stated, but it might be the Kabbalion.
And it doesn't always mean the master is a person too. I've heard this concept where struggles in your life could be seen as a master kind of because they're uh, helping you overcome things that you don't see or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
This this passage we just read is the guy basically tells him that he's the king of Salem, the king of
Yeah.
righteousness, basically. Um, maybe like a sort of Jesus or like a Jesus before Jesus came sort of thing. Um, because Melchi, his name is Melchizedek. So Melchi means king, and Zadok means righteousness or
Uh,
just, like justice, like we got the card today.
whoa.
The king of justice, the king of righteousness,
What an omen. What an auspicious omen on this lovely
right?
spring afternoon. Whoa, that's
How was I to
crazy.
know?
So
I
you
had
knew that.
forgotten.
You were sitting on that bit of information.
I had forgotten
Oh,
that Melchizedek meant that. I just looked up. I remember Melchi means king, but I forgot what Zadok meant. So I looked it up and it means righteous or just.
would you look at that? There you go,
Yeah.
everybody. See, we perform miracles here on the Oversharing Show too. Minor miracles of little importance, but to our followers, they get it. No.
And Salem means peace, like salam,
Oh
right?
yeah, salam, yeah.
Yeah. So king of Salem is king of peace as well. So he's a king of righteousness, of justice, and peace.
Yeah. And I could say that when you see the omens like you do in this show, right? The omens are lining up. It doesn't mean that, and we talk about this, but it doesn't mean that you gotta worship us, right? Because we're causing this to happen. What it means is it could mean that our message is a pretty good one. Maybe it's pretty aligned with truth, and that the realm is showing people that by this. So I would say if that's the case, then just listen to our message. And anyone in the future too, you listen to their message, and and work it out to see
Take
how
it
it
with a
works out
grain
for
of
you,
salt.
and then you don't have to worry about worshiping them, I guess, so much. So because I think that's what happens too. Some people do perform these crazy miracles, and other people will start to worship them because of it instead of going the way. So I think that's like this guy, the King of Salem, and everyone will see what happens. He performs kind of this little miracle, writes all the names down. Most people can't handle that, though. If they saw that, they would fall down and start worshiping him. That's why you have to be careful with the miracles, right?
Yeah. And speaking of that guy that we quoted earlier, Osho,
Yeah.
Rajneesh, Bhagwan something, Bhagwan Shri Rajneesh, that was his name. And I don't even know if that was his real name when he was born or if that was given to him as like because Bhagwan or Bhagavan, like Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan, I forgot what that word means exactly, but it's kind of a title of like um it's kind of honorific, I think.
Well,
So
his
I
real
can
name, though, you don't know. I know his real name. It was Samir Patel. I could say that because my dad's name is John Smith, so I can make those common joke names.
yes.
Yeah,
I don't
because
know that doesn't work. I would say like Samir Abdullah or something, but not Samir.
I'm just,
Maybe Krishna Patel or something like
yeah, there
that.
you go. Yeah.
Maybe something. Um, Let me see if I can find the word. Okay.
But
Yeah, so
Samir Patel was the thing that would make you laugh the most, though. So that's why I said
yeah. Okay, so
it. You're
Bhagavad,
right.
Bhagwan, that means Lord, by the way. So it's a
Oh,
title.
all right.
So it was Lord Shri Rajneesh.
And Shri is like a word of like Shri Krishna, Shri, it's like a
Yes, it's also honorific.
honorific. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
This guy's got a double honorific. He should
Yeah.
be known.
So his birth name or born name, whatever, is probably different than that. And I think I've seen that when I first looked him up some, years back. But he eventually changed his name to Osho, I think to avoid some, you know, allegations or illegal activity or something. I can't remember the detail, but
Good
I
for
can
him,
link
though,
an article. I can link an article in the chat
Yeah.
in the description. Um,
It's all right though, because I think we, you know, we do warn people about cults and stuff, but I think it's so
in the
transparent
chat.
now. Oh, am I breaking up?
Maybe.
I think it's harder to get away with having a cult now.
Really?
Well, because yeah, there's tons of them and people do it, but the ramifications and the things happen so fast. It's not like in the old days where you could just get away from it, away with it. Now it's like social media. People know what you're doing, So, um, yeah, I don't know. I think it's pretty self-evident usually. It's just the people in it don't see it, I guess. So, well, that's how it's always been, right?
Yeah. Now I forgot what I was going to say about why I was bringing up Osho, but it's fine. We can move on. I
I
did.
think you were talking about him distancing himself from allegations, and you were saying something else about
Oh,
that.
he renamed himself to Osho. Um, but let's see. I was maybe about him like gaining followers and being like this, kind of cult leader of sorts. Um, I forgot what I was gonna say though. It's okay. We
Probably
can
had
move
some good knowledge, though, I would imagine. So
on. Hmm?
I said he probably has some good knowledge, I would imagine, though. Again, that's what
Well,
really attracts people, right? It's like
yeah.
you have a good
Yeah, you
message, and then
you start with something good and
you
then
start to forget that it's God, and you start thinking it's you.
yes. Oh, that's what it was. So he had allegedly reached samadhi enlightenment at like 21, right? And okay, so these are just my thoughts, but like just because someone has a moment of enlightenment doesn't mean that now it's kind of like when the Christians say once saved, always saved.
Yeah,
It's like, oh no, now you can never fall from grace. Oh,
yeah,
really? Is that so?
yeah. I
It's like
remember what
that.
I was doing when I was 21, and let me tell you, yeah, it's
Like you tell me like, oh, by 21 you've lived all this life and you know everything and you've healed all your wounds and you've elevated your consciousness, but I don't think so. Like, yeah, maybe you can have some cities by then. It doesn't mean anything.
yeah, he could have even had that experience, but at that young age, from then maybe he just again, because if you have that experience and then you start to think
That
these
it's
things are
you.
because of you, yeah, and that's really why it's such a tight dance, and you got to just use your own discernment and trust your own intuition when it comes to these things. But there is a lot of nuggets in there and good things to be had, right? It's just that when you start to worship the actual person, that's where you go wrong. It's a very fine
Mm,
line.
yeah. So anyway, that's where
Talking to
I
you, Christians. All right. I don't want to pick on them too much. Okay, so we love our Christian brothers and sisters. We just like to kid. We're. All right,
we're
so
just talking about the fake ass Christians, in the words of Mark Passio.
the immortal words, yes, fake ass Christians and New Age bullshit.
Yeah.
And that's why, I love this story because the Alchemist can be taken by like New Agers that are trying to peddle New Age bullshit or anybody, even Christians, and taken and being like, see, this is why you got to do what we say because of this. And it's like, well, how did this story make you feel inside, though? I think. And that's what's cool about it because the story does get passed on by like famous people and people you could say are like psyops, but the story is going to hit people in their own way. That's what I love about allegory. All right.
All right. Do you want to read a little bit?
Sure, I can read a little bit. I am the king of Salem, the old man had. Oh, yeah, I am the king of Salem, the old man had said. Why would a king be talking with a shepherd? The boy asked, awed and embarrassed. For several reasons, but let's say that the most important is that you have succeeded in discovering your personal legend,
Wow. To be told that, that's amazing.
right? The boy didn't know what a person's personal legend was. It's what you have always wanted to accomplish. Everyone, when they are young, knows what their personal legend is. And this really goes back to what we always say about being like a child, talking to your inner child. Everyone, when they're young, they already know. It's because it's been beaten and indoctrinated out of us
Out
how
of
to be.
you.
We now have been, I think when we're born, we are born capable of existing in a spiritual realm. That's why we are have such an imagination, and we feel like everything's possible and all this stuff. But then as we're schooled and all this stuff, we are schooled into this worldview of a physical thing where, everything's real. And when you die, we don't know what happens and, all this stuff. So, yeah, it's saying it right here. Just be like a child.
Sorry, I just made a funny face because I heard Cody doing something in the garage and it was loud. So, but it's
Oh,
okay.
no worries.
It's like, anyway,
He finally has his flux capacitor. He's gonna make his time
yes,
machine now.
he's doing some time travel.
Who won the Super Bowl next year, Cody? Let me know. No, or when. At that point in their lives, everything is clear and everything is possible. So he's talking about when they're children, right?
Yeah.
They are not
Children have
afraid
no
to,
fear, right?
yeah, they're not afraid to dream and to yearn for everything they would like to see happen to them in their lives. But as time passes, a mysterious force, a mysterious force, everybody, begins to convince them that it will be impossible for them to realize their personal legend. And, I love how he just says mysterious force here because there's no victim status, but we can point to really like trauma, right? Like right now, I feel like it's getting passed down through childhood trauma. That's how this cycle happens. And that's how, children are traumatized and then they become more bonded to this physical worldview, I could say, and then you go to school and they make you sit, you get it. All right. So, yes. None of what the old
And that
man.
goes back, sorry,
No,
I
no, go
just
ahead.
noticed this,
Yeah.
where it says a mysterious force begins to convince them that it will be impossible for them to realize their personal legend. That goes back to the lie that he spoke about, right?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Good call.
The fate.
People begin to believe that lie.
Mhm.
So, yeah, you're right. He's pointing back to that. All right. That's cool.
I just noticed that.
Good
See
call.
what happens when you read it? I listened
Yeah.
to it and then I read it and now I'm reading it more and it's helping.
Show off. No, I'm just kidding. None of what the
You
old,
too can do it. Sorry.
yeah, no, you too can be one. None of what the old man was saying made much sense to the boy, but he wanted to know what the mysterious force was. The merchant's daughter would be impressed when he told her about that. It's a force that appears to be negative, but actually shows you how to realize your personal legend. It prepares your spirit and your will, because there is one great truth on this planet. Whoever you are or whatever it is that you do, when you really want something, it's because that desire originated in the soul of the universe. It's your mission on Earth.
Mm. He doesn't even say in your soul. He says in the soul of the universe,
Yeah.
which is like it was always there. It was always meant to happen.
Yeah, could it be that you even got this body in this supposed physical realm just to
Fulfill that.
fulfill whatever it is you want to do secretly? Like say
Yeah.
secretly you want to be a whatever, do comedy. I know a lot of people who want to do comedy but never tried it. It's like just go do it or whatever it is, podcast, a blog, realize your
Yeah.
personal legend, right? All right. And maybe the story will help you. If you're on the edge, that's what these parables are meant for. He talks about, well, never mind because he's going to talk about it about when he repairs and all that
Okay.
stuff.
Yeah.
Um, yes. So even when all you want to do is travel or marry the daughter of a textile merchant, yes, or even search for treasure, the soul of the world is nourished by people's happiness and also by unhappiness, envy, and jealousy. To realize one's personal legend is a person's only real obligation,
Hmm.
right? And then all things are one. They
Dude,
just hide it in there.
out of the blue, he says all things are one, right? Like it doesn't even seem like that's related to anything else that he's saying. And then he says it.
Yep. And when you want something, and then he goes, right, and when you want something, all the universe conspires in helping you achieve it. And that's
Yeah.
really, because if you have a desire, and you believe we're all one and we're all connected, it's not originating from you. It's originating, like they say, from the soul of the universe, or you could say the all or God, right?
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, MS? Mihal?
And this Om Shanti Sharon, Om Shanti Brandon. Thank you, Michal. Welcome. He says to realize one's personal legend is a person's only real obligation. That speaks to like, you know, what are, the
Yeah.
question, the perennial question. What are we here for? Like, what is this all about? Why are we here? What is the meaning of life? Blah, 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 right? To realize one's personal legend. And that
And
reminds
it's,
me of all the things that, people like Bashar say. And like, I think even Joseph Campbell talks about it, like to follow your joy or follow your passion.
yeah, it's echoed so many places, and it really is a license for you to let go of all that guilt and all the obligation, any obligations you feel that you have in your life. Your only obligation, this guy, Melchizedek, is saying, is for you to follow your personal legend. Because, you could say, well, I got to get a job and I got to pay the bills and take care of my family, which I understand all that. But they're deep down, if you are not realizing your personal legend, there's a lot of damage you're doing to the people around you and you don't realize it because of that. You know, I really feel that. And I felt I was that way before I started doing comedy. I mean, I'm not actively doing it as much now, but once I started doing it for a while and just got out there and was, it just so much was released. It's hard to explain until you do it. You kind of got to go through it your own self, but it's worth anything that's holding you back. Any kind of fear of like speaking in front of people, like let all that go. Just realize they are only thinking of themselves too. They're just like, wow, that would be crazy. And they all think you're brave for getting up there if they don't do it. So don't worry, even if you suck, they're still gonna think you're brave. But anyway, and as you do that and you find a way to sustain yourself in the world, maybe you can't just do it right away, but as you take steps toward it and do it and you release a lot of that guilt and you start to support yourself in a way that's more in alignment with your dharma or your personal legend, then the omens come even more, I think, and it just starts to flow more, you know.
Yeah. And I must say, at least for me, and so if it's for me, I'm sure that this is for others too. But when I worked the traditional 9 to 5, I started to have thoughts about am I do what am I doing? Like what am I doing in this place? Like am I contributing to something good? And you know, I realized that I didn't feel like it was. I felt like it wasn't, I'm like I'm not really doing anything helpful for the world or anything. Not that I felt. And all those thoughts kind of contributed to basically the end of that. Um, because I started to realize that I wasn't attached to being there anymore. I was like, I don't have to be here anymore. I don't know what's next, but I don't feel like it's this. Like, I don't feel like this should continue. Um, but as many of you know, um, God really took care of that for me. I didn't have to really do, I didn't really have to do much, but follow my personal legend, I guess, but follow my intuition and stand up for myself. And, you know, the I was accused of being insubordinate, not following the rules. And so, you know, that's how I got let go,
Insubordination, that's great.
which
Um,
was the best thing that could have happened to me. So, it
yeah,
is, it is what it is. And it had to happen that way. So,
they definitely lost out, I'll tell you that. I don't,
Well,
they whatever they were paying you wasn't enough, so they lost out. Yeah. That's cool though, you know. It's the best way to look at it. You're not bitter and you felt like it happened for a reason. And this is what we're talking about. When things like this happen in your life, if you can see the reason behind it, because you know, it's like when we always say we're gonna look back on this and laugh. We're gonna look back on this moment and laugh. We'll just laugh now then. Because if it's gonna be funny in the future, it's funny now. You just can't see it. Yeah. All
yeah.
right. I'll bring this one back up or get back into it. Cool. Um, when you want to, okay, yes, they were both silent for a time.
We already did you read that yet?
And
Oh,
when you
yes,
want
sorry.
something, all, yeah.
Okay.
Yes. They were both silent for a time, observing the plaza and the townspeople. It was the old man who spoke first. Why do you tend a flock of sheep? Because I like to travel. The old man pointed to a baker standing in his shop window at one corner of the plaza. When he was a child, that man wanted to travel too, but he decided first to buy his bakery and put some money aside. When he's an old man, he's going to spend a month in Africa. He never realized that people are capable at any time in their lives of doing what they dream of. He should have decided to become a shepherd, the boy said. Well, he thought about that, the old man said, but bakers are more important people than shepherds. Bakers have homes, while shepherds sleep out in the open. Parents would rather see their children marry bakers than shepherds. Yes, so this is what we're talking about with society, right? It's this pressure, and it doesn't always have to be trauma. You know, this pressure to conform can be seen as trauma as well, because really what it is it's still because most trauma is you're abandoned. And if you feel like, you know, I remember when I was in school and at first, you know, I think people like it, everyone likes it. Oh, school's so great. But as I started to really, I'll just say as it didn't keep my attention, you know, I was like in sixth, fifth, sixth grade, and I'm this crazy boy with all this energy. I would start to kind of get in trouble for things, and I wasn't like this. I used to be like a perfect student before then, so it was new. And I remember that my parents like not taking my side and how it felt. I'm like, what the hell? You know, like this is crazy. So I feel like even that trying to get that pressure of trying to get your children or people trying to get their children to conform to society, while I see why they do it, they don't want their children in their minds to like end up as homeless, starving people, you know, and dregs of society. Uh, but by doing that, they might be forcing their kids into that. You know, it's funny. And again, I don't have children, so I don't not telling you
Right.
the answer, but we're just saying this is what I think this message is saying, right? This is some of the hidden stuff in here. Not really so hidden, but
Yeah. And I know that, people who do have children sometimes get offended when people who don't have children have comments about stuff because they're like, you don't understand. But I got to say, when you don't have that connection to something, that attachment, you might have some insight into it. Whereas people who already have the attachment, they're not necessarily going to have those same insights. They're going to be attached to whatever they already believe about what it means to have children and how to raise them and how to do this and that, right? So, you know, I would still say take what we say as non-parents with a grain of salt because there might be something there for you.
yeah, we we're able to see it with like Sharon says without the attachment because I do believe, you know, the attachment to children, which is there's nothing wrong with it. It's your children, you know. I'm not like sitting here but what I'm
Yeah,
saying is like it's
exactly.
been used a lot to, you know, like to pass laws and to start wars and all this thing. So that is a very polarizing, touchy subject, obviously. And I think what you said is great because you're looking at it from the eyes of someone without that attachment. So it's, you know, basically we're saying we get it if you have your kids in a school and you do this stuff and you want them to succeed and, you know, not be a bum and be a podcaster or a comedian or whatever. We understand all that, but what we're saying is in this book, this guy Melchizedek is just saying this is, what ends up happening to people. And I think that a lot of people can
Basically,
resonate.
this biblical figure here.
Yeah. And again, there's nothing wrong with it because I feel like you have to do it to realize you don't like it.
Mm.
So,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
because if you just try to, whatever, I don't know, everyone's
So
got their
then,
own.
like, as parents, when your children are young enough and and let's say it's a reasonable thing, right? They protest to something that they don't like, at least try to see their perspective and see their side rather than siding with the adults who are trying to make them conform, for example, to something, right?
Yeah.
Like, at
Yeah.
least listen and try to understand their perspective because I've heard this somewhere. I don't remember where I heard it, but um I heard some advice from somebody who was like, when you're raising your children, like, do your best to treat them in many ways like they're adults. They're not stupid. So if you try to, treat them like they're dumb or they're stupid or they don't know, they sense that. They feel that. So if you explain things to them in a matter of fact way that is, just educating them on the perspective that you have for their question, you know, they feel more like at your level in that regard. And so they won't feel like you're putting them down. I can't remember why I was saying that, but um yeah, maybe it'll come back to me.
And I could, I'll add to that by saying, I get why people do it, and when you boil it down, really what's happening is they're taking away from today to have a more secure tomorrow, right? They're saying if I put my child or if I work harder, if I do this, I'll take that attention away from my child so they can have a better life and stuff like that. And what we're talking about is more living in the present moment where you just are having you have faith that things are perfect and they're going to work out. So you take that attention and you're giving it to the child now, and you're giving the child
Yeah.
not obviously not everything they want and all that stuff. There's a balance in a give and a take, but it's more
But the
focused on,
attention that they
yeah,
need and require, because if you want to have a relationship with someone, you spend time with them, you get to know them, right? That's be the same thing you would do with children. You spend time with them, and that's how you get to know them. That's how they get to know you.
yeah, because tomorrow's never promised. You never know what can happen. So, all right. Well, I'll bring this back up, and then if whatever comes, just let me know if you have the other idea. All right, so the boy felt a pang in his heart thinking about the merchant's daughter. There was surely a baker in her town. The old man continued, and I love how they just throw that in there. In the long run, what people, and another thing I like about the story is it really that he gets the self-dialogue right. These are the insecurities that play on you. There's, it is funny that he threw that in there, but there's a reason. He's trying to show the insecurity of the shepherd, right? Like he's like, oh no, this woman, I'm gonna lose her. It's attachment to something, and
Yeah,
he's not
it's
even,
attachment.
and he
Absolutely.
doesn't even really have her. It's an attachment of an idea of a woman that could be there or not.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's been a whole year. Let's see.
Yeah, he doesn't even know if she's still there. He doesn't
Yeah,
know.
and she could be dead.
Yeah.
Uh,
She could
the
be
o-
married.
she could be, yeah, she could be. Who knows? The old man continued. In the long run, what people think about shepherds and bakers becomes more important for them than their own personal legends.
Mm.
The old man leafed through the book and fell to reading a page he came to. The boy waited and then interrupted the old man just as he himself had been interrupted. Why are you telling me all of this? Because you are trying to realize your personal legend and you are at the point where you're about to give it all up. And that's when you always appear on the scene. Not always in this way, but I always appear in one form or another. Sometimes I appear in the form of a solution or a good idea. At other times, at a crucial moment, I make it easier for things to happen. There are other things I do too, but most of the time people don't realize I've done them. And I love that. It reminds me of Futurama, where it's like an episode where Bender, the robot, kind of plays God. It's hard to explain the whole thing, but at the end of the day, uh, there's this conversation with a higher consciousness that Bender has that he finds in this space, and it's like they talk about being God, and the consciousness is like the best way to be, the best kind of God to be is the one where people do it and they don't know that that you had anything to do with it at all. It's very Taoistic too. That's what this reminds me of.
Nice.
Okay, so the old man related to that. The old man related that the week before he had forced to appear before a
He had been
minor.
forced.
Had been forced to appear before a minor.
Miner, by the way, not OR.
Yes, not a young person, but a person who digs in rocks, and had taken the form of a stone. The miner had abandoned everything to go mining for emeralds. For 5 years, he had been working a certain river and had examined hundreds of thousands of stones looking for an emerald. The miner was about to give it all up right at the point, right at the point when, if he were to examine just one more stone, just one more, he would find his emerald.
Mm-mm.
Since the miner had sacrificed everything to his personal legend, the old man decided to become involved. He transformed himself into a stone that rolled up to the miner's foot. The miner, with all the anger and frustration of his 5 fruitless years, picked up the stone and threw it aside. But he had thrown it with such force that it broke the stone it fell upon, and there, embedded in the broken stone, was the most beautiful emerald in the world. So,
Wow.
go ahead if you
This
have
is
something.
this is a little here's a little omen for you, shall we say. Um, so Cody and I took a hike in the Superior area of Arizona. Um, it's kind of in the Superstition Mountains
Is
area.
that where all the white people live? No, I'm just kidding. In the Superior area, no.
I mean,
All right, I'll be here all
perhaps,
week, folks. No, I'm just kidding.
perhaps. Um, so we took this hike and it was kind of like I it wasn't like a road that normal people go through. It was not, God, let me just, sorry. I'll
You know,
start
it's
all
all right.
over. It was like a really crazy bumpy road, dirt road
Oh,
to get
gotcha.
to
Okay.
it. So it was like not well documented. Like there wasn't a sign or anything, but we knew about it because someone had told us about it. So we went, we parked. There were people there. There were cars already there parked, but um we take this hike. We don't see that many people around. And then as we're walking up this hill, we're getting higher in elevation. We see these two older men, and they're like, "Oh, do you guys know if there's another, you know, shortcut to get back to the parking lot or whatever?" And I had seen something on the map, and I was like, "Yeah, I think there might be, but I don't know where it's at." And then they start chatting with us, and there were two of them. So one of them was chatting to Cody, and one of them was chatting to me. And they're like, "Are you guys going up to the caves?" And we're like, I was like, "I didn't know there were caves." Yeah, sure. Where are they at?
We are now. No.
Yeah. They're like, you should. We found what are they called? As as no. What is the Native American
Turquoise?
name? What is one of the Native Americans called? Starts with
Oh,
an A.
uh, uh, let's see. There's Navajo, Sioux, Anasazi,
No, it's not them. Anyway, these it's
the
that name
animals,
with the
no.
word tears. And he's like, we were in the
Apache.
Apache tears.
Oh, they found Apache tears out there? Whoa, those are
Yes,
cool.
we
Yeah.
found some too. He's like, so because we went to that area and people had their little pickaxes and all their stuff, and they were like, plucking away, whatever. Um, but you could even see them like on the ground if you paid attention. They were like, some of them were very small. So I was just seeing them on the ground and picking them up. So We got late. We found a bunch. We had a little handful of them, but
Oh, yeah, that's cool. I would
some
definitely
of
go
them
there
were
sometime.
wrapped in perlite because that's basically they're surrounded by perlite. So like, you know, you knock around at it and then you'll see like a little stone that looks like a white type of stone, but you have to kind of crack it open and then the little Apache tears fall out.
Wow.
But basically he's like hold it up to the sun, to the light, and you can see right through it because it's volcanic glass. Now, I haven't confirmed that, but
I mean, when an old guy on the side of a trail tells you something.
yeah.
And you guys just went there to go hiking?
Yeah. We
Amazing.
didn't know what we didn't even know what hiking trails were available there. We had just heard from some lady that we had seen somewhere else. And she was like, "Oh, you guys should check out these locations for hikes." So we're like, we picked the closest one and we're like, we'll just check it out. We have no idea where these go.
That's
And
so
then
cool.
I started mapping it on all trails as we walked, but I didn't know where we were going.
That's perfect. Oh my God. Yeah, that's a great omen, huh?
Yeah.
Wow. Amazing. Yeah,
Oh,
you
he
never
said
know.
they're obsidian.
Oh,
Yeah,
obsidian.
volcanic glass. So he was right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I'm pretty sure Elizabeth has some. We have some somewhere. Those are
Yeah.
so cool
And
though. To
they were
find them in the
very,
wild though, I love finding my own
yeah.
crystals.
They were just all over, like the little small pieces were all over the path as we were getting closer
Oh, so cool.
to the caves, allegedly.
Alleged.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, they're often in close association or with or embedded in gray pearlite.
All right.
Originate from siliceous lava flows and lava domes or ash flow tufts, whatever those are. Anyway, I just looked it up real quick.
Used to be giants. That's cool. All right. Let's bring this back up.
So anyway, that was speaking of miners mining
That's so cool
for
though. We talk about
stones.
mining and then yeah. Another thing too I want to say about this before we go back is that he said that he goes, if the miner was to just pick up one more stone, it would be an emerald. And then this stone falls and he throws it, and it's just whatever one it hits is an emerald. So any of those stones could have been an emerald. Like he just had to look at one more. And I think that's a cool allegory to say, like, sometimes you just got to try one more time, like you give it one more shot and then that's it. And I love how this idea of appearing right when people are about to give up. It's really interesting. We were watching that Julie and Julia movie. We were talking about it with Julia Childs, and it's about a lady who's writing a blog about Julia Childs, and they show the two different timelines. So one of them is in 2002, and in that timeline, there's a part where she messes up something. It's not messed up, and she's like throwing stuff in her kitchen and freaking out and laying there because she has to in the movie, she has 1 year. She set a goal and started this blog to bake her way all the way through Julia Child's cookbook, and there was like 500 recipes, so it was more than even one a day. And she has a
Mm.
job too, so she gets really frustrated. And when she does, her phone rings, and it ends up being like a reporter that wants to set up a dinner with her and some other really like VIP person. So it's always right at the moment of despair. It's really cool.
Yeah.
So I think it's a sign to tell you that if you're in a if you're having a string of bad luck or things aren't going your way when you're pursuing your personal legend, that's a sign to let you know that it's about to turn around. Like the worse it gets, something's about to break. Could it be?
Yeah. Could be.
Could be. Okay, so the minor part, here we go. People learn earlier in their lives what is their reason for being, said the old man with a certain bitterness. Maybe that's why they give up on it so early. But that's the way it is. The boy reminded the old man that he had something about hidden treasure. That he had said something about hidden treasure. Treasure is uncovered by the force of flowing water. and it is buried by the same currents, said the old man. If you want to learn about your own treasure, you will have to give me 1/10 of your flock.
That's very biblical too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you'll say in the story later on, but yeah.
What about 1/10 of my treasure? The old man looked disappointed. If you start out by promising what you don't even have yet, you'll lose your desire to work toward getting it. Now, there's a
Mm,
throwaway line, but that's huge, right? Like, and I feel like this is the thing where they say don't talk about what you're gonna do,
hmm
right? Because you're promising what you haven't done yet, and then you put all this pressure on yourself, and
hmm
yeah, so
By the way, I haven't touched my translation of the Tao since since I shared the first verse. So there's an example.
yeah, there's an example, but it's all perfect, right?
Yeah, it's all perfect. It's all meant to be.
Could be. Still could suck sometimes, but you know, what are you gonna do? It's all perfect. That's just the way it is, like this guy said.
That's just the way it is.
Right. The boy told him that he had already promised to give 1/10 of his treasure to the gypsy. Gypsies are experts at getting people to do that, sighed the old man. In any case, it's good that you've learned that, yeah, it's good that you've learned that everything in life has its price. This is what the warriors of the light try to teach. The old man returned the book to the boy. Tomorrow at the same time, bring me 1/10 of your flock, and I will tell you how to find your hidden treasure. Good afternoon. And he vanished around the corner of the plaza. What a
Hmm.
gangster.
Shall I read the next part?
Yeah, let's do it.
The boy began again to read his book, but he was no longer able to concentrate. He was tense and upset because he knew that the old man was right. He went over to the bakery and bought a loaf of bread, thinking about whether or not he should tell the baker what the old man had said about him, like woke raping him, you know? Sometimes it's better to leave things as they are, he thought to himself, and decided to say nothing. If he were to say anything, the baker would spend 3 days thinking about giving it all up, even though he had gotten used to the way things were. The boy could certainly resist causing that kind of anxiety for the baker. So he began to wander through the city and found himself at the gates. There was a small building there with a window at which people bought tickets to Africa, and he knew that Egypt was in Africa. Can I help you? Asked the man behind the window. Maybe tomorrow, said the boy, moving away. If he sold just one of his sheep, he'd have enough to get to the other shore of the strait. The idea frightened him. Another dreamer, said the ticket seller to his assistant, watching the boy walk away. He doesn't even have enough money to travel. While standing at the ticket window, the boy had remembered his flock and decided he should go back to being a shepherd. In 2 years, he had learned everything about shepherding. He knew how to shear sheep, how to care for pregnant ewes, and how to protect the sheep from wolves. He knew all the fields and pastures of Andalusia, and he knew what was the fair price for every one of his animals. And there's a little picture of the ticket window, and it's in Spanish, and it says, "Oh, it's probably also in Portuguese, I'm guessing."
Oh,
But
yeah.
it says it looks like Spanish to me. Despacho de billetes. He decided to return to his friend's stable by the longest route possible. As he walked past the city's castle, he interrupted his return and climbed the stone ramp that led to the top of the wall. From there, he could see Africa in the distance. Someone had once told him that it was from there that the Moors had come to occupy all of Spain. He could see almost the entire city from where he sat, including the plaza where he had talked with the old man. Curse the moment I met that old man, he thought. He had come to town only to find a woman who could interpret his dream. Neither the woman nor the old man was at all impressed by the fact that he was a shepherd. They were solitary individuals who no longer believed in things and didn't understand that shepherds become attached to their sheep. He knew everything about each member of his flock. He knew which ones were lame, which one was to give birth 2 months from now, and which were the laziest. He knew how to shear them and how to slaughter them. If he ever decided to leave them, they would suffer. The wind began to pick up. He knew that wind. People called it the Levanter because on it the Moors had come from the Levant at the eastern end of the Mediterranean. And we all know what's at the east end of the Mediterranean. Just kidding.
That's where the wind comes from.
That's where the wind comes from.
It's
See?
all the breathing out of those giant noses. No, I'm just kidding, everybody. We make fun of everyone. All right. But it really is. No, okay, go ahead. I'm
All
sorry.
right, shall I keep going?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm done.
The levanter increased in intensity. Here I am, between my flock and my treasure, the boy thought. He had to choose between something he had become accustomed to and something he wanted to have. There was also the merchant's daughter, but she wasn't as important as his flock because she didn't depend on him. Maybe she didn't even remember him. He was sure that it made no difference to her on which day he appeared. For her, every day was the same. And when each day is the same as the next, it's because people fail to recognize the good things that happen in their lives every day that the sun rises. I left my father, my mother, and the town castle behind. They have gotten used to my being away, and so have I. The sheep will get used to my not being there too, the boy thought. From where he sat, he could observe the plaza. People continued to come and go from the baker's shop. A young couple sat on the bench where he had talked with the old man, and they kissed. That baker, he said to himself, without completing the thought. The levanter was still getting stronger, and he felt its force on his face. That wind had brought the Moors, yes, but it had also brought the smell of the desert and of veiled women. It had brought with it the sweat and the dreams of men who had once left to search for the unknown and for gold and adventure and for the pyramids. The boy felt jealous of the freedom of the wind and saw that he could have the same freedom. By the way, that was kind of a hint to something in the future, but I won't say it so you guys don't, so I don't ruin it.
Foreshadowing, if you will,
It's a
could it be?
foreshadowing, yes. There was nothing to hold him back except himself. The sheep, the merchant's daughter, and the fields of Andalusia were only steps along the way to his personal legend. The next day, the boy met the old man at noon. He brought 6 sheep with him. I'm surprised, the boy said. My friend bought all of the other sheep immediately. He said that he always dreamed of being a shepherd and that it was a good omen. There you go.
Yep.
That's the way it always is, said the old man. It's called the principle of favorability. When you play cards the first time, you're almost sure to win. Beginner's luck. Why is that? Because there's a force that wants you to realize your personal legend. It whets your appetite with a taste of success. Then the old man began to inspect the sheep, and he saw that one was lame. The boy explained that it wasn't important, since that sheep was the most intelligent of the flock and produced the most wool. Where's the treasure? He asked. It's in Egypt, near the pyramids. The boy was startled. The old woman had said the same thing, but she hadn't charged him anything. In order to find the treasure, you will have to follow the omens. God has prepared a path for everyone to follow. You just have to read the omens that he left for you. Before the boy could reply, a butterfly appeared and fluttered between him and the old man. He remembered something his grandfather had once told him, that butterflies were a good omen, like crickets and like grasshoppers, like lizards and 4-leaf clovers. That's right, said the old man, able to read the boy's thoughts. Just as your grandfather taught you, these are good omens.
Yeah, where's Chris? Where's QSB at? 4-leaf clovers.
Oh, yes, yes, he finds them.
Good omens.
Yeah. The old man opened his cape, and the boy was struck by what he saw. Now, we saw that earlier, right? Because it was like a bright, shining light when he opened his cape the last time, but he shut it very quickly, right? And there was nothing really said about that, right,
Mm-hmm.
Brandon?
Yep, you just
Okay.
kind of get a glimpse.
Yeah, you got a little glimpse. Okay. Now it says, The old man wore a breastplate of heavy gold covered with precious stones. Boy recalled the brilliance he had noticed on the previous day. He really was a king. He must be disguised to avoid encounters with thieves. Take these, said the old man, holding out a white stone and a black stone that had been embedded at the center of the breastplate. They are called Urim and Thummim. And this is actually in the Bible, you guys. These
Hmm.
were like divining stones that the priests used to wear, allegedly. The black signifies yes, and the white no.
That's
When you are
interesting, right?
right, right.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, and it reminds me of you can take it off for a second. It reminds me of like when they tell you to carry a white stone or a black stone, sorry, both white and black stones in your pocket. I have this clear quartz and this I think this is shungite.
Oh yeah. Nice.
Um because like the white like clears the energy, clears the space, and then the black absorbs the bad energy or whatever,
Oh,
something
interesting.
like that. So I don't know if that's exactly what they're saying here, but
I gotta find a good white one to match this. I have a nice. This is actually smoky. It's clear. It's
oh,
just really dark smoky.
that's
Really
really
cool.
crazy.
Yeah.
Because look at my smoky quartz. It almost looks like clear quartz.
Yeah. And this one, I don't know if I have a light I can get behind it anywhere. Maybe if I put it over.
Is it kind of like the obsidian of
Where's my
the
phone?
Apache tears?
Oh, here, I'll see. You know, let me put the phone flashlight behind it because it's pretty cool. Crystal time. Yeah, see how you could see right through it?
Kind of.
The
Okay,
light,
yeah. Yeah,
it's just so dark now.
it's
And then
very
when,
dark.
yeah, but when you have like a brighter light behind it, you can see right through it. It's really nice. I forgot it was, I thought it was obsidian. And then I was like,
It's
wait a minute.
not,
No, because obsidian you can't see through so clear. It's hard to tell, but when I hold this up to a light, if I had a brighter light to show you, you can see right through it. It's like dark glass.
but that's interesting because Apache tears are obsidian, obsidianites composed of black or dark colored natural volcanic glass.
Yes, but
So I don't know.
it's like obsidian is more translucent or opaque. I guess you'd say it's more opaque
More
than
opaque.
this. This just looks very opaque until you put a light behind it, then you can see right through it. It's
Okay,
crazy. But yeah,
nice.
I mean maybe obsidian also. I'm not an expert, so it could also come clearer too. But
Yeah.
yes, so many cool crystals. All right, let's see. Oh, and then I don't know if anyone noticed, but I put the little skull right here so you could see it.
Oh, okay. But
So
you
it could be
didn't
on the
turn the
show.
pyramid scheme on.
Oh
And we're
yeah,
talking
let's
about
do it.
the Great Pyramid, the Great Pyramid scheme of all time.
Your treasure will be found near the Great Pyramid Scheme. And there's only one. They'll try to
Join
fool
our
you.
Great Pyramid scheme, and you'll find your personal legend.
Yeah. That's right. 1995 and
Ah.
we'll tell you what this guy's telling you in the story. We'll be like, you gotta just follow the omens. Thanks for the money. Have a nice day. No. Get yourself a black and white stone. Have a nice day. All right, let's go back to the
Ah. All
com
right, I'll continue on.
compelling story.
All right, so he said the black signifies yes and the white no. When you are unable to read the omens, they will help you to do so. Always ask an objective question. This reminds me of when you are doing muscle testing,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. You have to be objective because if you want the answer to be a certain way, who
Yeah,
knows?
you skew it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to take your bias out of the way if possible. All right, so
Which, if it's impossible to do, you just have someone else do it for you, right?
yeah, who
Yeah.
has no desire to care about what the answer is going to be.
Yeah, just some guy in the street. Be like, can you hold your arm up for me, guy? No, I'm just kidding.
All right, so he says, um, I think Melchizedek is speaking, but if you can, try to make your own decisions. The treasure is at the pyramids. That you already knew. But I had to insist on the payment of 6 sheep because I helped you to make your decision.
Mm.
The boy put the stones in his pouch. From then on, he would make his own decisions. Don't forget that everything you deal with is only one thing and nothing else. And don't forget the language of omens. And above all, don't forget to follow your personal legend through to its conclusion. All right. So, can you tell me what you think about this line? Don't forget that everything you deal with is only one thing and nothing else. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. So I think that it goes back to this idea that what he was saying, where everything is all one. And it's a way that you can look at it kind of in the lens for Hinduism. They kind of look at everything that happens as Krishna, like just messing with people. Like when somebody comes along and is giving you a hard time, it's God in disguise testing you, right? And if you look at everything that way, then you don't feel like a victim, right? You're less likely to fall into that victim narrative. You could say, oh, what's the best way to overcome this challenge from God? I'm going to do it and I'm going to get to the next one. So I think that's kind of what he's saying. It's all one. It's all part of this grand thing that happens. So whatever's happening to you, it's just part of everything that's happening. It's not personal to you. It's not the universe is pissed off at you today. It's just what has to happen because of what happened before.
Yeah. And as you will see throughout the story, this is something to remember. He's telling him this for a reason.
Quite right.
All right. I'll keep reading. And I believe we probably have like close to 30 minutes before it's the 2 hour mark. So I'll keep
Okay.
reading. Um, all right. But before I go, I want to tell you a little story. A certain shopkeeper, sorry, I'll read that again. A certain shopkeeper sent his son to learn about the secret of happiness from the wisest man in the world. The lad wandered through the desert for 40 days and finally came upon a beautiful castle high atop a mountain. It was where the wise man lived. And I'll just say that 40 days, that's kind of interesting, right? Because the Bible talks about
Yeah.
Jesus was 40 days in the wilderness. Lent is 40 days, and we're in allegedly, right? We're in the season of Lent, et cetera, et cetera. Um, all right. Rather than finding a saintly man, though, our hero, on entering the main room of the castle, saw a hive of activity. Tradesmen came and went, people were conversing in the corners, a small orchestra was playing soft music, and there was a table covered with platters of the most delicious food in that part of the world. The wise man conversed with everyone, and the boy had to wait for 2 hours before it was his turn to be given the man's attention. The wise man listened attentively to the boy's explanation of why he had come, but he told him that he didn't have time just then to explain the secret of happiness. He suggested that the boy look around the palace and return in 2 hours. Meanwhile, I want to ask you to do something, said the wise man, handing the boy a teaspoon that held 2 drops of oil. As you wander around, carry the spoon with you without allowing the oil to spill. The boy began climbing and descending the many stairways of the palace, keeping his eyes fixed on the spoon. After 2 hours, he returned to the room where the wise man was. Well, asked the wise man, did you see the Persian tapestries that are hanging in my dining hall? Did you see the garden that it took the master gardener 10 years to create? Did you notice the beautiful parchments in my library? The boy was embarrassed and confessed that he observed nothing. His only concern had been not to spill the oil that the wise man had entrusted to him. Then go back and observe the marvels of my world, said the wise man. You cannot trust a man if you don't know his house. Interesting.
I
Any
like that.
comments so far?
I,
Or
I
should,
like how it says you can't trust a man unless you know his house.
yeah, kind of interesting on that. All right. Relieved, the boy picked up the spoon and returned to his exploration of the palace, this time observing all the works of art on the ceilings and the walls. He saw the gardens, the mountains all around him, the beauty of the flowers, and the taste with which everything had been selected. Upon returning to the wise man, he related in detail everything he had seen. But where are the drops of oil I entrusted to you? Asked the wise man. Looking down at the spoon he held, the boy saw the oil was gone. Well, there's only one piece of advice I can give you, said the wisest of wise men. The secret of happiness is to see all the marvels of the world and never to forget the drops of oil on the spoon. The shepherd said nothing. He had understood the story the old king had told him. A shepherd may like to travel, but he should never forget about his sheep. The old man looked at the boy and, with his hands held together, made several strange gestures over the boy's head. Then, taking his sheep, he walked away. Now, we can talk about what that means.
Yeah, so it goes back really to the quote, I think, with awareness, because and it really highlights the journey that people have when they start to kind of wake up and have awareness. Because I would say the boy with the spoon in the beginning is kind of someone who's going to like a guru, like for answers, because they're starting to ask these questions. And then the guru basically is like telling them
What
uh,
to do and how to
what to
do
do.
it.
Like,
And
so first he's like, he tells you to do this, so you do this, and then you realize, and then you think the only way is to just ignore the drops and let him go. But then he's like, no, it's both, you know? So then you're like, phew, and you have to realize
right
that,
hand path, left hand path,
yeah. Well,
and a
also,
little bit of both.
well, that too, but also it's like not getting too lost, right? It's, you can go into the spiritual, into samadhi or whatever it is, and you know, you could talk about these spiritual ideas that we do all the time. The world is perfect, but you have to remember you have drops of oil in your spoon. So you have to remember about the physical too, that maybe that's what the allegory is. It's like just because you're aware of the spiritual, you also have to keep a balance with the physical. I guess I could say, you know, it's about both. It's about seeing everything that's around you and then also protecting that oil on the spoon. And really what he's telling me is like the master's basically telling the guy he has to slow down a little more, you know, like slow down, take it
Oh,
in.
yes. Yes. Because when that's a good point about the awareness that we talked about with the beginning of the episode, the quote. So be aware of the oil in the spoon as you're going about your day, looking at all the things that you have to, doing all the things you have to do. Just be aware.
Look down every
Um,
once in a while, you know.
but the other thing it made me think of, because I grew up in a church that like really saw the oil, whenever oil was mentioned, they associated that with like the Holy Spirit. So if you are out in the material world and you're just doing your thing and you're seeing all the material things in the world, um, keep an eye on the Holy Spirit within you. Like, don't forget about the Holy Spirit within you. Something like that.
Yeah.
That's what made me think of.
Yeah, I love that. It's huge. Yeah, it's the same kind of message, but for sure. Wow. And again, because in the beginning he's just focusing too much on the oil, and then the second time he focuses too much on the exterior, you know, it's
Yeah.
really just
So it's like focusing too much on the spiritual and then
yeah.
focusing too much on the material, but it's both.
Yeah,
We're
exactly.
we're
And
in
you could
this world, but not of it, right?
yeah, exactly. And it could even be just seen as a simple message of balance, to remember balance kind of thing. All right.
But it's funny because the boy thinks he's saying, yeah, you can travel, but don't forget about your sheep that you left behind. That's what
Yeah.
he thinks it means,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Interesting, right? Yeah. Here, let's bring it back up.
And it says so the old man, with his hands held together, made several strange gestures over the boy's head. Is it like maybe a blessing or something?
That's what I see it as. Yeah.
Okay.
It reminds me of Jesus too. He would do that, signs over the heads and stuff or whatever. I think, right?
I don't remember that he did it necessarily, but yeah, I mean, people today do that sort of thing. Maybe, I don't know about over people's heads, but yeah.
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying. I was probably thinking of church. All right. Oh, what am I doing?
Do you want to read a little bit more? And there's a little another little piece.
Yeah, we'll read the rest of this little piece, I think, and then we should be good, right? Okay. At the highest point in Tarifa, there is an old fort built by the Moors. From atop its walls, one can catch a glimpse of Africa. Melchizedek, the king of Salem, sat on the wall of the fort that afternoon and felt the levanter blowing in his face. The sheep fidgeted nearby, uneasy with their new owner and excited by so much change. All they wanted was food and water. Melchizedek watched a small ship that was plowing its way out of the port and he would never again see the boy, just as he had never again seen Abraham again after having charged him his 1/10 fee. That was his work.
See? Yeah.
The gods should not have desires because they don't have personal legends, but the king of Salem hoped desperately that the boy would be successful. It's too bad that he's quickly going to forget my name, he thought. I should have repeated it to him, for him. Then when he spoke about me, he would say that I am Melchizedek, the king of Salem. He looked at the skies, feeling a bit abashed, and said, I know it's the vanity of vanities, as you say, my lord, but an old king sometimes has to take some pride in himself. All right.
So it says that he is the God himself, right? The gods should not have desires be-
Yeah.
because they don't have personal legends. But then he looks up at the sky and says, Lord. So he's just another servant of God, basically. But he's
Reminds
kind of
me,
in this middle stage where he's not like a regular human.
mm, like the law of one kind of, right?
Yeah,
Like
could be something
he-
kind of like that.
he's one of these entities,
He's a
traveler.
sub logoi, remember?
Yeah. He's one of these guys, like it's like a Christ figure who comes in and helps people or whatever. You can look at it that way.
Yeah.
Interesting. And the law of one thing is cool because you have the seven different densities, the seven different densities or whatever. And so it's like Ra coming through on one level, but then knowing there's densities above him, kind of. I like it.
Well, that's kind of like omen like as well because they allegedly helped build the pyramids, the Great Pyramid, right?
Oh yeah. That's the word on the street, according to the
Raw.
that's really interesting, according to the law of one stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And this stuff goes to the pyramid, talks about going to the pyramids so far anyway. We'll see if he gets there. Um, MS is blowing it up in the chat. What's going on? Could the oil in the spoon be semen retention? Ah, maybe. Whoa, that's huge. Yeah. Because if you're going out, experiencing the pleasures. Hmm,
Could be.
good call.
Especially since he was like all obsessed with that girl, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Hmm. Oh, and then MS says sometimes crystals are manufactured in a lab, but not necessarily advertised as such, but they are still real crystals. Yeah, yeah. That's what we're more into the raw, raw stuff. Like this wasn't made in a lab.
Hmm.
It's a clam.
Oh, the geode?
Oh, look, it's a clam, like an actual clam, right? That was turned into calcite. How cool
Dude,
is
that's
that?
nuts.
So you got the soft flesh getting, which modern science says you can't. How's it, soft flesh? There's no way for it
It
to
can't happen.
crystallize from the way they say slowly. It has to happen instantly. So it's,
Yeah,
it's cool to have that here. I always have it here when I'm podcasting. Oops.
very neat.
Good energy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what do you guys think? Are you enjoying this? Leave some comments. Let us know what you think. I'm really enjoying this story. I know at this point I was like very excited to see what happened. This guy's going over across to Africa. If you're not familiar, it's the Straits of Gibraltar, where the Rock of Gibraltar is, and it's very thin there where the Mediterranean begins. It's between the Atlantic and the Mediterranean. I've actually gone through there on an aircraft carrier, in and out myself. So it's really cool. You could see the Rock of Gibraltar for like ever. It's so huge. Like as you're on the horizon, it's just this huge rock that you're coming. It's like a mountain. But it's one nice giant rock. And even then when we looked at it, I'm just like, what was this thing? Like, was it part of a wall or a
Mm.
statue? Like, so
Was it
interesting. So
keeping people out
yeah, or keeping things in, who
in
knows? We need to
like
put up
the
a
Great Wall of
wall.
China?
Yeah. We need to build a wall in Africa. Oh my God, we would. Just kidding, everybody. No, and it's interesting because that whole area, there's so much conflict that has always happened because of the meeting of those two continents, and it's so close. So, it's interesting that this story takes place there too. I'm sure there's something about that to consider. But yeah. Well, yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying this. Remember, morelawsmoreproblems.com is the website. Go there, click on the Oversharing tab. You can get all your Oversharing needs. If you feel you got any value out of this, you could support us monetarily through there several ways. And the best way we say to support us is to hang out here every Thursday in the chat when we are either going live or premiering. So check us out. And, we're on audio form too in podcasts at Podbean. So that's all at morelawsmoreproblems.com. All the links are there at the under the Oversharing tab. So there's my commercial. And look forward to us, for us to continue this series. But we have ideas of other shows too. So we're not just going to be doing this Alchemist thing. So, oh, thank you, John. Great job, you both. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. Yeah, so stay tuned for other stuff we're going to be talking about. Um, we're working on something that's going to be really fun. I'm excited. No claims though.
Yeah. I'm excited.
Yeah,
We have some stuff to talk about.
allegedly. All right, well, what do we say to the good people, Sharon?
That once you start oversharing,
Then you totally stop being a Karen.
that's right.
That's right. Remember, everybody, we're not trying to tell you how to live.
We're just sharing what we learn as we learn with you.
That's right. You're just learning along with us. All right, everybody. Well, have a good weekend. And I'm just trying to think of memory, make sure I said everything this time because last week I almost forgot to sign off.
Oh yeah.
That was so funny. It's just like so natural.
Well, I
All right,
reminded
everybody, have
you
a great
you
weekend.
couldn't find the button, so I said
Yeah.
it just in time.
Yeah, no, it was perfect. I have the button now, so we are good. All right, everybody. See you guys. Have a great weekend and keep oversharing. Take care. Ciao. All right.